If you're a health or a life coach who wants to get more clients, then stay tuned. I'm going to give you a step-by-step guide of all the things that I will be doing if I wanted to get more clients in 2026. And this is coming as someone who has previously run a health coaching business and who has also supported hundreds of health and life coaches to get more clients in their businesses too. Let's dive in. Hi there, welcome to the Wholehearted Business Show. I'm Laura. I help heart-centered and highly sensitive health and life coaches get more clients, grow their businesses and live the best lives while they do it. And today on the show we're talking all about how do we get more clients in 2026, and I'm going to give you a step-by-step guide as to the things that I would be wanting to think about if I was wanting to get more clients this year. But before we dive into that, just a big happy new year. This is the first episode of the Wholehearted Business Show in 2026. I am so excited to be back. We've had a little 2-week break. It's really lovely to have you all back with me. And again, this is going to be a good one. We're going to be talking about how to get more clients in 2026. And I'm going to give you, this is the exact things that, I'm thinking about in my business that I would be suggesting to clients. Obviously, I would be given these steps, but making them much more individualized and specific to the individual client and their niche. And we're going to touch a little bit on that as we go through today. We're going to really get into what do we need to be thinking about to get more clients this year. And if you're a health or a life coach, getting more clients is the lifeblood of your business. We want to be doing that. We want to be making that happen. So I really hope that today's episode of the show is going to be helpful. Before we dive into that, just a quick reminder for anyone who is coming back after our 2-week break, who might be new, joining us brand new as well. Maybe 2026 is the year that you are going to launch your coaching business. And just a reminder about what I'm all about, what my work is all about. So I'm really here to support heart-centered and highly sensitive health and life coaches, specifically us, these people, and I say us because I am very much one of these people as well. A high proportion of the clients that I work with are also neurodiverse. And I think when you are this kind of person, when you are really conscientious, when you maybe are a bit of a people pleaser, maybe struggle with boundaries, maybe have, a really high sensitivity to rejection, when you are one of those kind of people, the way that the coaching industry is and the way that online business is, we can really, really struggle with trying to do business in the way that everyone else does it, because it's going to feel awful to our nervous system if we try and do it in the typical way that everyone else is doing it. The way that I approach supporting people to grow coaching businesses, and again, I specifically work with people who identify as being highly sensitive, heart-centered, potentially neurodiverse as well. People who really, really care about the clients, really care about the work in the world. We care a lot about people and we need to do business a little bit differently. And really my work is all about helping you grow and build a coaching business that is, yes, successful. Yes, it's going to get you clients. Yes, it's going to make you money, but that feels really, really good to your nervous system. It feels joyful, it feels fun to run, all of those things, because that is so important if you identify as someone who is highly sensitive, heart-centered, potentially neurodiverse, because any other way of doing it, you're just going to be stressed out, burnt out. It's going to feel awful. Trust me, I have been there and I have done that, and that is not where you want to be if you are someone who relates to those things. So that's what the Wholehearted Business Show is all about. That's what my work as a business coach and mentor is all about, is helping you create what I like to think of as a cozy coaching business, a business that feels really, really good and that feels amazing to run, and where you're not stressing out all of the time about everything. And there is a way to do that. And that's been my journey with my coaching business too. So if that sounds good, please do stick around. If you are new, please do subscribe to me on YouTube. Please come listen to the podcast anywhere that you get your podcasts. The Wholehearted Business Show, you'll be able to find me, and come and follow me on Instagram. I'm at Wholeheartedly Laura over there as well. But let's dive into today's episode of the show. And I'm going to give you, as I said, the steps that I would be taking myself and that I am thinking about myself in my coaching business about getting more clients in 2026. This is what I would be suggesting to my clients. Again, with a lot more nuance and detail and individualization. But these are generally the steps that I would be thinking about anyone taking who wanted to get more clients in 2026. Do hang around, because the last step is the most important one, and it's the one that often gets missed out of this conversation. And it's especially important if you are heart-centered and highly sensitive. So step 1 is all about making sure that you actually have the essential foundations right. Now, if you have struggled to get clients before, or if you are a brand new coach, it is really worth revisiting these things. I've actually done this in my own business over the Christmas period. a bit of a reflection, a bit of a review of some of these really important foundational things. So even if your business is actually quite successful and you are getting clients, it can still be a really good thing to do to go through this process. And what I mean by this is that you are making sure that what it is that you are selling, the coaching that you are selling, the transformation, because remember, when someone invests in coaching, they are seeking some kind of transformation. You want to make sure that the transformation that you are offering is something that people want. And the way that you do that is that you do some market research. I've got a whole episode of the Wholehearted Business Show on how to do market research for your coaching business that I will link to. So do go and check that out in the description or in the show notes. So you want to do some market research. You want to look at your messaging, like what is it that you are saying? What is it that you are putting out into the world? And are people resonating with that? Is it attracting the right people in? And is your coaching package actually set up correctly to attract the clients in that you want? Now, these are really foundational, essential pieces, because without this, if you've got a coaching package that no one wants to buy, like, you're screwed, basically. If you are not saying the right things that are going to get people interested in your work and people aren't resonating with whatever it is that you're saying, you're going to struggle to get clients. We want to get this piece right. So this is part messaging and this is part the structure of your coaching package and how it is that you are putting that together, but most importantly, how you are communicating what that package does for people. So this is really, really important. You want to get this stuff right, and market research is a good place to start, but really just finding out and figuring out what it is that people actually want in your niche and being really clear on how your coaching package fits with that. Now, sometimes there's a bit of fine tuning. And again, this is what I do with a lot of my one-to-one clients and a lot of my clients in Wholehearted Business, is we have to do a lot of fine tuning of this, and we have to kind of test things out and see what works, and we have to talk to people, which we're going to come on to in a second. There's a lot of fine tuning of this to find the right match between the work that you are best equipped to do as a coach, because you can't help everybody. You're not here to help everybody. So finding the right match between the work that you are best placed to do, finding the right ideal clients, and finding kind of how we put that together, the sweet spot, which is your coaching package. So there's a lot of fine tuning to do, but that was the very first step, is do some market research. Even if you've already done it, things are changing really fast in terms of where people are at and what is important to them right now and what is resonating for them right now. So do some of that market research, review all of your messaging and review your coaching package, and make sure that your coaching package is well structured, is appropriately priced, is speaking to the right people, is clear on what that transformation is. If there's any confusion for people, confused people do not invest a lot of money in coaching. You need it to be clear. You need that transformation to be clear, and you need what it is that you're offering to be really clear. So those are your foundational pieces. You want to get that communication piece, that clarity, that coaching package well structured. And it's not to say it has to be perfect. I think sometimes we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to have everything really perfect, and there is no version of perfection here, really. It's about that fine tuning, it's about improving, and it's just one of those things that is worth reviewing at this point. If there's things that you could do better there with this kind of foundational piece, then it's worth doing it right now to get those new clients in before we do the next steps. So get your foundations in place, do the market research, tune up your messaging, make sure that your coaching package is well structured and well communicated and well priced, and that people are not left confused, and that it's actually a transformation that people want to buy. And then step 2 is all about how can we have more conversations with people about our work as a coach. Now, that is a big catch-all. It's the simplest way to look at this. If you find the idea of sales and sales calls and all of that kind of stuff scary, especially if you're a new coach, just think about the step is, how can I talk to more people about my work as a coach? And what this step is really about is, how can you get more people onto discovery calls? How can you have more of those one-to-one conversations about what people are struggling with, about the transformations that they desire? How can you have more one-to-one conversations about how you can help people as a coach? That's what we're talking about here. Now, obviously, depending on your niche and depending on the people that you are best placed to serve, The specific things that we can do in this are going to be different depending on obviously like who you are and what your work is about. But some examples of what you could do, just putting out the offer for some discovery calls and saying, I've got some slots available to have a chat about how I could help you. It can be as simple as that, and just putting that out. If you're a brand new coach, that might be about doing an email to all of your friends and family or acquaintances and asking them to share with their friends, family and acquaintances. That's a really simple step that you could do. If you are a more established coach, then you already may have a presence on social media, or you may already have an existing audience. Again, that might be just about inviting people and making those invitations to have those conversations with you. And this is the bit that gets really, really tricky as someone who is heart-centered and highly sensitive, because this is often the bit where we get a bit like, we're inviting people on to have sales conversations. This is really, really scary. And what can often make this easier is by knowing that the people that we are inviting have expressed an interest in the thing that we are offering. And again, if you're just putting the invitation out there, you're not forcing anyone to actually have those conversations with you. So there's all sorts of different ways that we can approach this. Again, having more discovery calls, having more of those kind of conversations where you're seriously talking about your coaching work is really helpful. If you do struggle with discovery calls, I have a fantastic kit called the Discovery Call Kit, and it's all about helping you structure a discovery call that is going to help you get more clients, that is going to allow you to pitch your coaching services without it feeling icky and scary, so that you get more clients say yes at the end of those discovery calls. It's completely free. Go and check that out. The link is in the description. Other things that you can do here that kind of fill this gap, and this is really about how can you have these conversations with people about your coaching work, is you can run one-off calls. So these can be very specific calls that are set up to help people with a very specific problem, and you invite people onto those calls. How this works is that people are more likely to sign up for something where they know specifically what the outcome is going to be for them. You can charge for these, or you can deliver them for free. I actually have a whole program on this strategy called Prices Power Hours. It's also sometimes called a lost leader call as well. So there's a whole strategy that you can use around there. And also kind of like a scaled up version of that is delivering a webinar or a live training. So that's also another option. If you combine some of these strategies with urgency and scarcity, so basically you don't have that many coaching slots available and they need to be filled by this particular time, then that can also help these strategies work better when it comes to get clients. So how can you have more conversations with people? And again, if you are a new coach, this might also look like you actually offering some coaching sessions for free, just to get that experience, just to get that confidence, just to kind of, again, have those conversations with people and actually coach people and actually talk about your work as a coach. It is such a simple thing, and I know it's more complicated when you get it down on paper, but if you really think about your work, thinking about your ideal clients, what could you do to have more conversations with those people without even thinking about trying to sell your coaching services actually initially? How can you help them with something? Having that attitude, we're going to talk a bit about this as it comes on, about that energy of helping people rather than desperately trying to get clients. That can make a really big difference. But ultimately, step 2 is all about how can you actually talk to people about the work that you do as a coach. And that high touch, individualized way of working is so, so important. And then on to step 3, which is equally as important as step 2. But again, we want to balance these 2 steps out, because step 2 was all about higher touch kind of strategies that are going to get results potentially a little bit more quickly. And step 3 is about strategies that are going to build sustainability in your business, because these steps and the things that I will be suggesting in this step is all about building sustainability into your coaching business. And this is really about how do we start to generate spontaneous client inquiries. Now, if you're not sure what spontaneous client inquiries are, those are the kind of where basically you are sitting on some Wednesday afternoon, you get an email come in and someone has booked a discovery call, and then you go on and deliver that discovery call and they sign up to be a client. And it really is as simple as that. There's no hustling. There's not actually any of the having to do the short-term high touch strategy stuff, because actually that's just happening for you. You don't have to go out there and do that. And, I'm happy to say that that's where my business has been for the last couple of years, is I'd kind of just do my long-term kind of sustainability strategies and get the spontaneous client inquiries coming in. Why this is important is because, especially if you are highly sensitive or heart-centered, that step 2 that I just described, those having conversations with people and actually having to go out and seek to have those conversations with people, can feel a little bit heavy on your nervous system. I'm not going to lie about that, like it can. So we want to be doing something to develop those spontaneous client inquiries because they do feel easier on your nervous system. You're not having to go out there and hustle for people. You're not having to go out there and seek them out like they're seeking you out. It's imagine you being the flower instead of being the bee. And the kind of step 2, we're having to be the bee. We're having to go out there and find the flowers, that we want. And we're having to go out there and identify who those people are, invite them to calls and things like that. And that is still an important part of running a coaching business. And I do think we can do that in a way that does feel okay to our nervous system. But ideally, where we want to get to is us being the flower and allowing everyone else to be the bee and come to us. And the way that we do that is through creating content that builds trust, that builds connection, that helps people get to know you and like you. It's that whole know, like and trust kind of thing in the coaching industry, but through creating consistent content that people are actually finding. That also helps build your audience. So step 3 is to really think about, okay, what is my actual long-term strategy for creating really good content that is going to build the know, like and trust factor for potential clients, that is going to help generate spontaneous client inquiries in the future. Now, the reason why we can't just do this on its own if you want to get clients more quickly is that this does take time, and you have to combine it with something that is going to grow your audience. So what I would always say is that creating some form of content is important no matter what audience size you need, because your content is how you communicate your message. It's how people get to connect with you. It's how you grow that trust, which is so, so important. And if you combine that, if you combine that content that does that with the shorter term kind of high touch strategies of having those conversations, that can be really successful in its own right. But what we don't want to forget is we want to do some of the audience growth in there as well. We want to make sure that we are still growing our audience. Now, ideally, the content that we are creating is going to help us grow our audience at the same time. This is exactly what I talk about in my program, the Searchable Show Method. It's precisely how I run this show. I create this show every single week. It goes out on YouTube. It goes out as a podcast. It goes out as a blog. It gets repurposed for social media. It does a lot of heavy lifting. And again, we are not content creators. We are coaches, but we do need to create content in order to, again, create that trust, create that connection, and hopefully also grow our audience. So if you are creating content, you want to be doing it in a way that is going to also help grow an audience. Partly what this comes down to is also growing an email list, because when you grow an audience on email, you own that audience. It's a lot safer place to grow an audience than it is to grow an audience on Instagram or Facebook, where you could lose that audience because we don't have any control over those platforms ultimately, whereas your email list, that you do have that control. So this step is really about building that sustainability so that clients are going to start to come to you in the future, so that you don't have to do so much of the step 2 as time goes on. You can just focus on actually creating the content and creating that, consistently, so that your business feels more sustainable. Because the great thing about creating content in this way, and certainly in the way that I teach in the Searchable Show Method, is that it compounds over time. It actually increases your results over time. It doesn't depreciate over time. It actually builds and builds and builds. The more content that you create is more invitations. It's more ways that people can find you. It's more ways that people can connect with you. That builds up over time. It doesn't depreciate over time. So that's one of the great things about the Searchable Show Method, is that when we are creating content in that way, and we're creating it strategically so that we are sharing our message and we're sharing what it is that we're about, that is going to do wonders for making sure that we are attracting clients, spontaneous client inquiries, that is going to make our business more sustainable over time. So just to quickly recap before we go into the final step, the first step was to make sure that your foundations, which is your actual coaching package and the messaging around that coaching package, make sense. Ultimately, are you offering something that people actually want? So important and so often missed. And again, doing a bit of market research, even if you've already done that before in your coaching business, can really help make sure that you cover that step. So that's step 1. Step 2 is looking at your higher touch strategies. These are the things that are going to get results more quickly, because this is all about having conversations with people. So once you know that you've got a coaching package that, and again, it's not about perfection, but once you know that you've got a coaching package that is working, that is offering something that people want, it's about going out there and identifying the people who would benefit from that coaching package, and trying to have conversations with them. And again, I listed off a whole bunch of different strategies, from discovery calls, one-off calls, webinars and trainings, just offering pro bono coaching sessions, all sorts of different things that you can do to have those conversations with people and hopefully ultimately pitch your coaching in a way that feels good to you as someone who is highly sensitive and heart-centered. And again, that's what we cover in the discovery call kit, is how to do that pitch without it being icky and awful. And then step 3 is all about how we build sustainability in, so that we don't have to do quite as much of the step 2 over time. And that is all really about how do we consistently create content that is building trust and connection, and hopefully also building our audience at the same time. Now, if your content is not building your audience fast enough, that's where we might want to look at other strategies like paid ads or collaborations as well and build that in. But we want to have again, another foundation of that in place, because while what's going to get us the clients more quickly is having those conversations, the content kind of helps us identify the people who are best placed to have those conversations, who actually need our coaching. And again, eventually what we want to get to is that people are actually coming to us to have those conversations rather than us having to go out to them and find them and invite them to these calls. They're coming to us and they're booking those discovery calls themselves. And then step 4, which is the most important step, without a doubt, which often gets missed out, is making sure that your energy is in the right place. Now, there's so many different ways that this can come into play with attracting more clients, but to give some examples of how this can often look, if you don't believe that your coaching package is going to get people good results, you will not attract clients. If you are desperate for clients, if you are on a discovery call and you are so desperate for that client to say yes, your energy is going to feel really desperate and grabby, and it's not going to feel good for you either. Getting your energy in the right place and making sure that you are doing the work that you need to do to be able to show up in your coaching business and attract clients in an energetically healthy and centered place is really, really key. Because as I said, if you have all of these doubts underneath, and again, just to say, this is not about being perfect. It's not about having no doubt, no self-doubt. It's not about having no imposter syndrome at all. But ultimately, if there is a level of that there that is preventing you from showing up, that is preventing you from feeling good about doing these things, you're really going to struggle. And this is so important if you are a highly sensitive or heart-centered person, because we can't bullshit ourselves in the same way that some other people can. We need to believe in what it is that we're doing to feel good about it, or else it's going to feel really out of alignment. Like trying to do sales calls and trying to sell a coaching package that you don't believe in, that you actually don't believe is going to get people results, is going to feel awful, because you're a good person and you're a nice person, and trying to sell someone something that you don't think that they need is not going to feel good. So we really need to do the work to get ourselves into a place where we feel energetically centered, energetically healthy, so that we can show up and do that. So if that sounds interesting to you, please do stay tuned, because I am going to be creating a program all around this. One of the biggest things that has made a difference in my coaching business, and I've increased my income hugely over the last 2 years, one of the biggest things that has helped me do that has been getting my energy into a really, really good place. So do stay tuned, keep an eye out, because I'm going to be sharing more information about this over the next couple of weeks. But if you feel like you could do with some work around this, making some shifts and changes in your energy, in your coaching business, so you can attract more clients, and so you can do all these steps and feel really good about them and not feel icky and awful about them, then that program is going to be for you. So do stay tuned. I am putting all the finishing touches to it as I speak. I'm really, really excited to deliver this. So there we have it. We have 4 steps. I'm going to review them again. I'm going to give you some examples of what this could potentially look like in your coaching business. So the first step, market research, making sure that your coaching offer is actually offering something that people want, making sure that your messaging is on point, making sure that you are well communicating the offer, that it's well priced, all of that stuff. Step 2 is actually having conversations with people about your coaching. Step 3 is about creating content and building up the opportunity for spontaneous client inquiries to occur. And again, that is where people just find you, they like what it is that you're saying, something that resonates for them, they book a discovery call, and bish bash bosh, you've got a new client. And step 4 is about making sure that your energy is in the right place, so that you can actually be open to receiving all of this, and that you're not blocking yourself from actually receiving and attracting clients. So to give you an example of what this might look like, let's say that you're a health coach and you are wanting to attract more clients. Let's say that you support people around stress and anxiety. So the first thing that you want to do is just do some new market research and really look at how is it that people are talking about these struggles. What other options might they be considering to support them with this? What's the actual transformation that they want and that they need? And how can you position your coaching offer as something that's going to make sense for them, as opposed to other things that they might do? For example, taking medication, doing mindfulness courses, things like that. Like, how are you going to position your coaching offer as an alternative to those? And how can you really talk about your coaching package in a way that is going to resonate for those people who are seeking to not feel stressed and anxious anymore? For example, what is it that they want to feel? The alternative, feeling calm, feeling centered, that's the flip side of it. So you would do that work first. And then in the second step, again, as a health coach who helps people with stress and anxiety, you might want to, again, depending on whether you're a new health coach, whether you have an existing network or not, you might want to just simply put out, okay, it's the new year. I support people who want to feel lighter and less stressed and less anxious. And I help them, again, make sure that you've got that messaging piece right from step one. You would put out a little piece of messaging around that and say, I'd love to talk to some people about this. I've got some slots available for calls in January. If you want to talk about how you can improve this, then please do book in for a free call. It's totally free. And at the end of the call, I'll make sure that you leave with a couple of tips that are really, really helpful. Then you deliver those calls. And again, where you share that offer, that invitation, and I think remembering that these are just invitations, you're not forcing anyone to book in for a call, you are making the invitation for them to do so. So again, think about putting that invitation out there, and maybe you put that out on Facebook, for example, or maybe you put that on Instagram, maybe you've got a small email list, maybe you put that out on your email list, and you also add a bit of urgency and scarcity in there and say, actually, I've only got like 5 of these calls available, but if you want to hop on one, we can have this conversation. I can help you with something. So that's one version of how you might do this. Another version is that particular coach might say, right, actually, I'm going to run a live training, I'm going to run a webinar, and it's all going to be about how you can support your anxiety and reducing your anxiety through changing your diet, for example. So you might put that out there, and then at the end you might pitch your coaching services with a bit of urgency and scarcity at the end as well. So that's another example. And then in step 3, you might be looking at, okay, maybe you've already been creating some content, but actually now that you've done that foundational step and you've reviewed your messaging and you've looked at your market research, you actually change up a bit of your strategy in terms of what it is that you're actually sharing so that it's resonating for people more and creating more connection. Maybe the audience building element isn't enough, and maybe actually your email list hasn't grown that much in 2025, so you want to start running some paid ads to kind of build that up a little bit more. That's another example of how you could do that. And then maybe in step 4, maybe you realize that actually you've been really struggling because you've had a couple of clients and actually the results that they've gotten haven't been what you've actually wanted them to achieve in that. So actually you need to test out your coaching package a bit more, and you need to get some new testimonials, and maybe you need to reframe the actual transformation a little bit so that you feel energetically more excited about selling it. So there we go. There's a little example. There's the 4 steps. I'd love to know if this is helpful. And again, please do reach out if you are seeking some support in your coaching business and you know that it's time to work with a coach or a mentor like myself. I've worked with hundreds of health and life coaches to help them get more clients, to help them grow their coaching businesses, and all doing so without having to do stuff that feels really, really awful. We can always find a way of you getting clients without doing anything that feels uncomfortable or unaligned for you. So please do reach out. I have got some slots available in January to start with one-to-one coaching packages. I've got 2 different options available. I've got a shorter coaching package and a longer coaching package, depending on what it is that you are wanting to work on. So please do get in touch. I would love to support you around all of this work. It is so helpful. If you got a couple of clients from working with me, you would recoup the cost straight away. So it's a really, really great investment of your time and money. But yeah, give me a shout if I can be of any help. Just click the link in the description where it talks about my one-to-one coaching, and you'll be able to book in for a discovery call with me. So yeah, I hope that's been useful, everyone. And again, just another reminder, do check out the discovery call kit as well if you want to run better discovery calls in 2026 and actually pitch on them without feeling really awful and icky. So there we have it, guys. I hope that's been helpful for you. The first episode back in 2026. And again, I've got some great things coming for you in the rest of January and going into the rest of the year. I'm so excited to be doing this work as always. But yeah, let me know what you thought of this episode of the show. Let me know in the comments if you're watching on YouTube. Pop me a DM on Instagram. I'm at wholeheartedly Laura over there. And I will catch you next week, guys. Take care. Bye.